Hello, it's midday. This is Joy News Today with me, Mama View Owusu-Abuaje. Coming up, coalition of NGOs in health worried about the abandoned health facilities across the country. Also, Ashanti region NADMO on a hunt for 2 missing persons after last Monday's floods. Details of these and other stories, including business, sports, and world news, all coming up in this package. Please stay with us for details. Now, the coalition of NGOs in health is worried about the abandoned health facilities across the country. The group says it is wrong for these facilities, which have been completed and handed over to government, to be inactive while citizens lack access to basic health care. The group's call follows a tour by the Minority Caucus and Parliament Select Committee on Health to some abandoned hospitals across the country. Dr. Gabriel Benako is advisor to the coalition of NGOs in health.
I say this everywhere. The University of Ghana Medical Center was ready to be used. You cannot, any health expert will tell you, you cannot finish a health facility completely before you start using it. You always have to start using it while you put in place other things. And when you go to every facility, especially a hospital, you continue to upgrade it based on the data you are getting in serving people. That informs you on how you can upgrade it. For example, you start with OPD, with emergency, but you get data from OPD that tells you that you need to upgrade it to some specialized services that you need to put in place. And then you continue to upgrade it until when the facility is much more resilient. So every health facility in Ghana, fortunately, the Ministry of Health, Ghana Health Service, they have a standard of what they call hospital, specialized health center, district hospital, polyclinic, chip compound. They have a standard. So once you are putting up a health facility, it's already approved that it's supposed to be like this. And therefore, you have to work to ensure that it's being put to use to respond to the reasons why it was put to use. It was put in the plan for the construction. And then we have serious challenges in Ghana where we have health facilities, they are not completed. You have health facilities, they are not used to the fullest. You have health facilities that nobody cares about them. Sometimes we make political games out of it, but health issues cannot be compromised. I keep on saying this over the last 6 years as I was the national chair. You cannot compromise health. You can do for other sectors like education, agriculture. But when you compromise health standards, one life is lost, you cannot get it back.
Meanwhile, the minority MPs have wrapped up their tour of the facilities. Kwesi Parker-Wilson, who was with the team, joins us with further details of the tour. Parker, what more can you share with us?
Right, so Mama V, the minority, obviously, this morning were telling us that they are not happy with the development and this is not where they're going to end. They have also identified some other projects, abandoned projects, by the NPP administration. And so they are preparing themselves and gathering their people to go and then tour some of these facilities. Now, the aim is that they want to compel government to complete all this project because all the places we visited, Fominam, Kumewu, Afari, the chiefs there were lamenting the delay of the project and indicated to us that socioeconomic activities are delaying or have been affected because of the delay of the project. And so one of the things they want the minority to do is to use the powers they have in Parliament to trigger every tool that they have to compel government to complete all these projects. In fact, the Adansi Maria Henry was telling us that some of the residents there would have to travel almost about 2 hours to Bekwai and other places to seek medical care when the situation is quite serious. And so these are some of the pleas to the minority. and the minority caucus on the health committee, which was led by the ranking member, Minta Kandom, indicated to the chiefs that they're going to ensure that indeed all these projects are completed. So the second phase will begin shortly. They are yet to communicate to the media, but they are certain in their minds that they would indeed go and visit some of these facilities and highlight the ills or the things that government is doing to abandon them.
Parker, we saw the sort of resistance that they received initially when they attempted entering the Afari military hospital. Was there a similar incident?
No. In fact, the Afari incident was largely because when we got to the facility, the military men had been detailed there, because you understand that it's going to be a military hospital. So already about 7 armed military men have been detailed on the ground to protect the facility. In fact, the military was saying that some few weeks gone by, some media men, using their words, secretly invaded the premises and recorded some of the facility or things in the ward, which they received some queries from their superiors, and so they were on the high alert as to whoever comes to the facility to seek some clearance from their officers, their big boss in Accra. And so when we got there, they demanded that the minority provide evidence of the clearance before they give them the opportunity to tour the facility. So that was a misunderstanding, but after a few calls, they all agreed that indeed the minority has the power from Parliament to do what they had to do. So at the other places, because the chiefs themselves were incensed over the delay of the project, they gave them the permission to go and tour the facilities. First of all, when they get to the town, they pay a courtesy call on the chiefs first and let them know their mission in the area. The chiefs express their disappointment and their concerns and reservations before they delegate an individual to lead the minority to the project site. So that happened at Kumewu and Fomena and the other places that we visited.
Okay, and just before I let you go, Parker, the objective essentially is to tell Ghanaians that these projects have been abandoned. Is there anything more they intend doing after that?
Well, so they say since they are not in government, it will be very difficult for them to complete the project. But however, they need to bring it to the attention of the individuals or Ghanaians that the projects that were procured, loans were procured to facilitate or construct these projects, have been abandoned by the NPP administration. It is the taxpayers' money. They say you and I, our taxpayers' money were used, and so they cannot allow this project to rot. In fact, the agreement at the time was that the government was going to start payment or paying the loans after 5 years. We are in the 5th year, so it's expected that the NPP administration would pay the loans, and that is the major concern. So if these projects are operationalized, we can now generate some funds, some revenue to defray some of the debt. So the major point is that they want the Akufo-Addo administration and, of course, the health minister, Kweku Agyeman-Manu, to ensure that the project, which has been estimated to about 92%, 95%, 65% be completed. I'll see on the screen that you are showing the Yellow Kobo District Hospital. In fact, Mama V, that particular facility has been completed since January this year and was handed over to government. The minister appeared before Parliament somewhere in June, assuring the House that they were going to operationalize the facility by the end of August. As we speak, we are in September and going into October. The facility is yet to be operationalized. If you go there, you will see an ambulance station there. We were told by the security men there that the ambulance was brought in somewhere in January and it's been parked there. It hasn't moved yet, so they don't know what is happening. So the MP for the area is really not happy with the situation. I had a sneak peek into some of the wards. I saw medical equipment installed in the major wards. In fact, it's a completed facility. We are told by the minister that they are doing recruitment. The MP doesn't understand why recruitment of medical staff would take that long from January to now. So he demanded the immediate operationalization of this project. So obviously the minority says that they will continue to put pressure on government to ensure that all the abandoned health facilities across the country are completed. And they want government to abandon the idea of starting the Agenda 111 because they want government to finish this project before they move on to the construction of the Agenda 111. And one disadvantage is that all the abandoned facilities in the various communities, so let's say Somna, for example, because Somna has already has a facility there, what it means is that they won't have the benefit of having the Agenda 111 facility in their area. So if government doesn't construct or complete the Somna hospital, the people there, the residents in that area, will not have a hospital.
Okay.
And they would have to continue to travel miles to other places to seek medical attention.
All right, Kwesi Parker Wilson, we'll leave it here. Parker will continue following the Minority Caucus on the Health Committee of Parliament. He will bring us phase 2 of the atoll. Meanwhile, the Health Minister, Kweku Agyeman-Manu, has reiterated government's commitment to provide resources needed to promote healthcare. Speaking on behalf of the Vice President at the inauguration of the Methodist Oral Health School Complex, the Health Minister assured the gathering government is working to expand infrastructure in the training of health professionals at all levels. Here's Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin's report.
And also, the 3 million Ghana cedis facility was constructed by the Methodist Church with support from Rotary clubs in Kumasi, among others. The facility will provide one-stop dental and oral health care services, as well as serve as the first oral health nursing training school. It will also bridge the gap in the training of oral health professionals in the country, as at 2018 the dentist population ratio was estimated at 1 to 150,000. The Minister of Health, Dr. Kweku Agyeman-Manu, in a statement read on behalf of the Vice President, commended the Methodist Church for its pioneering role in quality health care delivery in the country.
The Methodist Church Ghana is one such key stakeholder. Through its Methodist health system, the Church has set up 4 hospitals and 21 health centers in 8 regions across the country. Few of the hospitals in Wenchi and Ankasi serve as districts. In 2020, the Methodist health system provided healthcare services to over 10% of the catchment population where its facilities are located for general consultation, antenatal care, and childhood immunization. The hospitals treated over 22,000 inpatients and carried out 8,584 emergency and elective surgical procedures. In addition to healthcare, the Methodist Church has an enviable track record of promoting quality education and raising responsible citizens in Ghana. I urge the Church to keep up the good work and use its platform to encourage the citizens to make lifestyle choices that promote good health and well-being. As added prevention is better than cure.
He said government is working to expand infrastructure in the training of health professionals at all levels.
Government is committed to promoting healthcare and will continue to provide the needed resources and support to enhance the health infrastructure for the benefits of our people. In addition to the many interventions, we continue to expand and equip medical schools to train more medical doctors to improve the local patient rate.
Chief Executive Officer of the Methodist Hospital at Ankasi, Joseph Atta Amankwa, reiterated their commitment to improving health care delivery in the country. He said the new facility has modern equipment to train health professionals.
We have taken into consideration quality as well as blending local content in the construction and finishing. Besides the Honorable Minister Nananum invited guests. The hospital, through its collaborators, both Ghana and abroad, has spent a little over 3 million Ghana cedis in the project, which covers construction, equipment, and finishing.
The National Disaster Management Organization in the Ashanti region is on her hands for 2 missing persons after last Monday's floods, which left 4 people dead. Ashanti Regional Administrator Nana Atakra Kodia, who spoke earlier on News Desk, said his outfit is working tirelessly to find these missing persons. He's been interacting with Israel Lai.
Yesterday, we were able to, the various teams retrieved 3. One from Kromwase Afasiebon in the Atuma Kwangoma district, involving a 9-year-old boy. Then we were also able to retrieve the 9-year-old girl who passed on or who got drawn at Daban Penny in Shiayeso sub-metro of KMA. And then the third one that we located and retrieved was at the bridge, those who perished on the bridge between Enyinem and Ahinema Kokobin. And just this morning, our set team has been able to locate a second body, leaving one still outstanding.
Speaking with some of the residents in the affected communities, we get the understanding that people are built in waterways. Is that the understanding that NADMO also has?
Yes, it's a challenge. It's a challenge because sometimes back, such areas were left as part of the river bank and they were tagged as nature reserves. But what we see today is that people are developing in such areas, meaning that they have acquired those lands from the traditional owners. And some of these developments, you could see that they are not those who are putting up such structures are worthy people. And then they will prove to you that they have attained the necessary permits from their respective assemblies. So it's a challenge.
No, but it's a challenge. Are you saying that it's a challenge that you can't deal with? Isn't it possible for NADMO to go in?
Yes, NADMO is doing what we can.
How is NADMO dealing with it?
We will map up. We have already done that the survey of the low-lying areas that we term as flood-prone areas. We have submitted state data and the recommendations to the respective district assemblies, municipal assemblies, and the metro, asking them to continuously or at regular intervals do the silting of such rivers and streams and storm drains crisscrossing the cities and the towns. But it's up to the assemblies to live up to expectations.
Away from the Kumasi flats, Agric Minister Dr. Owusu-Afriyie Akoto says Ghana must take another look at subsidizing farming inputs for farmers because of the costs involved. Government has spent nearly $1 billion to subsidize fertilizers for farmers under the Planting for Food and Jobs program. Speaking during his tour of the Oti and Volta regions, the minister argued that as an agricultural economist, he does not believe in subsidies, but instituted it because he wanted to show farmers that such inputs will increase their yield.
You will see a very sharp increase in the number of beneficiaries and then the quantities of fertilizers and seeds that have been distributed. And that's reflected in the production. He didn't give us the data on the production of the main crops, but if it's there, you will see the yields as he indicated. We had 6 tons per metric ton in GACO. Before this program started, it was barely 2 tons per hectare. So it means that we've gone up 3 times. And these are the kinds of things that we should be showcasing to praise the farmers of Volta, that in spite of all the negative propaganda which started at the beginning of Planting for Food and Jobs, now they've come to the realization that it is beneficial to them. We don't produce fertilizer in Ghana. The places that produce fertilizer in Europe and in America have been badly hit by the COVID because of the close downs and so on. In England, Yara, which is one of the biggest fertilizer companies in the world, is shutting down factories. In Europe, the others are shutting down factories. So they are speculating that there will be shortage of fertilizer, and of course that means that fertilizer prices are going up and up and up, which will mean that farmers will get less fertilizer applied on their fields. And they're even talking about shortage of food in Europe. So we as price takers are not immune to that. The idea is that we are importing a lot of seeds from abroad. We want to be a net importer of seeds. So we are encouraging as many people as farmers, investors, anybody to come into the seed industry. And the research institutes are too happy to collaborate with the private sector and providing the breeder seed, the foundation seed for that work to go on. So, and fortunately for us, it is going on. I mean, we now have more hybrid seed coming from the University of Ghana, from SARI and the others who have done a lot of research on hybrids and are now coming out with a product in the field. And I'm sure that in the next 2-3 years, we should be able to start exporting our own brand of seeds.
We return to Accra, where a building consultant says government must have a holistic approach in solving the tidal waves problem that has plagued communities along Ghana's coast for a while now. Residents along the coastal areas from Keta through to Ketu, Glefe and surrounding areas have had their houses swallowed by sea waves, a situation that has also affected their source of income. Speaking on the AM show this morning, engineer Abdullahi Mahama said aside raising the height of the sea defense walls, government must have a holistic research into the issue so as to find a lasting solution to the problem.
Some portions, especially those who are very close to the sea, will not be able to reclaim their lands now. That's why I'm saying that it takes a lot of engineers. So maybe when government expresses interest in going to those areas to actually put a solution to the problem, the engineering will be done, the survey will be done, the extensive survey, and the topography will determine whether government would have to, the client, in this case, the government of Ghana, would have to go in or will start at the locations where the buildings have been washed already. And that means that if the engineering report comes and they said where the last building is actually situated now is where the defense had to start, it means the lands which are now covered by the sea cannot be reclaimed again. Secondly, I think that the facilities along, once you keep on doing one area, you don't tackle the next area, which is extremely low. It's like displacement of water. So you have a water in a bucket, you put your hand in, or you put a certain object in, the water displaces. So if ordinarily we're having about maybe 100,000 liters of the sea coming at a time, and you cannot control that one, and you have just protected this side, it moves in the other direction, because that is the place that it has water will define its own course. So I blocked what point A and B has been blocked. When the water comes with that speed, as it hits the area, the others will be displaced to the next area where you have not actually protected. That's why it's always important that, like I said, we look at the lowest areas and we'll start to build and then end at the end of the day. But Israel, money, capital, huge capital is involved. What I expect government to do for us now is to be able to engage a team to run a holistic and comprehensive engineering from point A to point the last point, and then see how government intends to tackle one lot after the other and how much is involved, possible source of funding. And then if government is not going to get so much money to continue, what are the houses that maybe government would have to relocate for now to save lives and property?
Now, pupils of Yumba Special School in Tamale can now study peacefully as their school block has been completed. The 3-unit classroom block was started by government and left at the foundation level. An NGO, Shining Stars Foundation, has completed the building and fitted it with the needed logistics to make academic work easier. Correspondent Martina Bugri reports.
The Yumba Special School was built by government to shelter children with special needs. But over the years, infrastructure and subvention to the school continues to be a huge challenge. The school has largely depended on benevolence to survive. One of such group which continues to support the school is the Shining Star Foundation. Speaking at the commissioning of the facility, Director of the Shining Star Foundation, Reverend Dr. Cynthia Bentel, said the foundation has been running a feeding program for the school.
About a couple of years ago, we had a call to come to Yumba Special School. When we came, we saw so many needs. Among them was to help in feeding the children. So we came with goods, rice, so many things. But I realized that was not the only need here. It needed to be consistent. It wasn't just a one-time giving. So we pledged, knowing that God was going to help us, to put a feeding program in place, of which we diligently honored until the COVID came in and they had to stay at home.
She said even though the construction of the block was not factored in their plan, they had to adapt, considering the congestion in the school.
When we came, we also realized another need, a very, very important need. We saw children were overcrowded in a classroom that they had. We saw a foundation that had been laid for the classroom block, which are uncompleted. Just the thought of building a classroom block wasn't something we had planned. It looked like a huge task, but we committed ourselves that by the grace of God, with the help of God, there is nothing that is impossible, and that we were going to do it. And by God's grace, this is what we see now.
The head teacher of the Yumba Special School, Ephraim Tutu Brimpong, said children with special needs should not be neglected but supported. He thanked the Shining Star Foundation for their generosity.
Children with disabilities should not be neglected, but instead be given the best opportunities to develop to their optimum. Such opportunities come by way of appropriate education, provision of specialized or related services, and availability of specially trained and well-motivated personnel to handle children with disabilities.
The foundation also presented 20 wheelchairs and full staff to the school.
Away from Tamale, a retired commissioner of police is asking President Akufo-Addo to set up a commission to look into the welfare of police officers. COP Yagi Akuriba says this will ensure the officers have the best of conditions while in active service. Mr. Akuriba, who is the immediate past Director General of the National Patrol Department, was speaking to journalists on the sidelines of a Thanksgiving service in honor of his retirement from the Ghana Police Service at the St. Joseph and Worker Catholic Church at Akuse in the Eastern Region. Edward Kofisiao reports.
Officer of the National Police Training School. Officer. He held several positions, including Commandant of the National Police Academy and Training School in Accra. He was also the Commanding Officer of the National Police Training School, the Regional Commander for Eastern and Western Regions, and finally, as Director General of the National Patrol Department. He has been described by many as a man of principles who eschewed corruption and cheating. The Catholic Bishop of the Koforidua Diocese, Most Reverend Joseph Efrife Jekum, who was the principal officiating clergy, described Mr. Akuriba as honest, time-conscious, faithful, and disciplined. He spoke to Joy News.
At the beginning of the Mass, I made certain comments commending him about his great work, his honesty, his punctuality, and the transparency and the discipline that he had exhibited throughout his police service. And for this, I want to commend him and also ask that all Ghana Police Service members also will really emulate his sterling example.
COP Yaji Akuriba, in an interview, says there are lingering issues affecting the service. He therefore called on the president to set up a commission to look into concerns of serving officers and the public at large.
I said if you want the Ghana Police Service to be a first-class police and also serve the communities, then the president should establish a presidential commission, just like President Obama did. When he came, there were so many issues about Ghana, the American police. He established a presidential commission on police. And that commission, everybody will come and talk. Constables who have certain things in them that they cannot voice out, civilians who have had issues that they cannot voice out, they will all come. Sometimes this commission will sit in camera, then they will know what really happens in the police service.
As a member of the COS 27 group, COP Akuriba was joined by some of his mates, including retired COPs Prosper Aglo, Beatrice Veep Sanzeru, and COP Charles Toko. The mass service was also attended by members of the Police Management Board, led by Director General in charge of administration, COP Christian Teteyohunu, who also represented the acting IGP. For Joy News.
You're watching Joy News today. We'll take a breather and return with business with Taro Kwao. Stay with us.
Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to Business. My name is Darrell Kwao. The newly constituted board of the Public Procurement Authority has vowed to strictly abide by all conditions required for the procurement process under single sourcing. Now, this follows many reported infractions of procurement by the state through single sourcing at various agencies. Speaking at a short ceremony to inaugurate the new board of the Public Procurement Authority, Board Chairman Professor Ameya Okunfi assured that although the process is not a bad one, the board will insist that all conditions are met. Here's more in this report.
Single-sourced procurement has always been described as a window for corruption in the public sector. The newly constituted board for the Public Procurement Authority is therefore promising to work diligently with other related agencies to ensure that the required processes are carried through before approving any single-sourced project. Board Chairman Professor Ameya Okunfi believes the practice helps in many emergency cases but will be strict on the requirement.
Originally procured from Ghana, whatever company, and it breaks down. The only logical source to go to is that company that supplied it originally. So when you approach it that way, that will be single sourcing. So, and if there is an emergency that will have to be tackled, and you know a supplier who is immediately available, that may be the supplier that you go to. So there is no myth around it. It's just that, again, you have situations where people try to cut corners. That ought to be avoided. We have to make sure that the conditions are met. And we're going to insist on that. We're going to insist on that.
Deputy Minister for Finance, John Kuma, who sworn in the board, charged the committee to ensure that public procurements are carried out in a fair and transparent manner.
By way of its object, the PPA is expected to harmonize the processes of public procurement in the public service to secure a judicious, economic, and efficient use of state resources in public procurement and ensure that public procurement is carried out in a fair, transparent, and non-discriminatory, environmentally and socially sustainable manner.
The 9-member board is mandated to ensure a smooth operation of the authority in supporting procurement processes for government.
Heading next to the Ashanti region, where the Asante Otumfuo Osei II has called on telecoms giant MTN to intensify efforts to clamp down on internet scam and mobile money fraud. He says the trend could be detrimental to the digitization drive the telecommunication companies are championing. The Asante said this when management of MTN paid a courtesy call on him at the Menchia Palace. There's more in this report.
The leadership of telecommunications giant MTN paid a courtesy call on the Ashanti as part of its 25th year anniversary. The Ashanti commended MTN for their contribution to digitization in the country and admonished them to strengthen their efforts to address the incidents of fraud. Some people use your company name to make false publications to deceive people on social media. We must curb this. He says the influence of fast internet is key to smooth business operations in the new digital era. During the peak of the pandemic, digitization was significant, and your outfit played a vital role for businesses. Otumfo made these statements when MTN Ghana paid a courtesy call to the palace and donated a sum of 100,000 Ghana cedis to the Otumfo Osei to the Second Education Fund. Managing Director of MTN, Mr. Selo Madadivo, says the company is committed to contributing more to education. He says MTN intends to expand education using the digital space.
Last quarter, you see 600-bed dormitory block at Tamale. Now, it was one students for almost a good environment.
We are helping several students to have a conducive learning space. All educational websites have now been made free for all users.
MTN network now about 200 educational websites and free.
And that's business. More coming up at the top of the hour on the marketplace. Up next, sports.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the sports segment with me, Ray Kuwampo. For chairman of the Black Stars Management Committee, Fred Papo believes Milovan Rajvac has what it takes to meet his target set in his contract as he begins his second stint as Black Stars coach. The Serbian has been tasked to win next year's Africa Cup of Nations and then also guide the country to the World Cup in Qatar next year. Papo, who was the GFA vice president during Ghana's debut World Cup appearance in 2006, believes Milo has the ability to deliver.
Let his work speak for him. He's a very focused and determined person who doesn't tolerate any laxity in his team.
Okay, so future-wise, what does Milo represent?
I believe he represents a lot of hope. He's a very hardworking and committed person, very determined and disciplined in every aspect of the word. And I'm sure he's one who would make sure he puts his all and his players put in their all for the success of the team.
The stars given to him, is it a reality?
What?
Winning the AFCON and also qualifying for the FIFA World Cup, is that a reality?
It's a reality, but at the end of the day, I don't believe in targets. Everything depends on God. We only have to put in effort.
Well, that was Fred Papo there. But let's do some more stories where the multi-division world champion. And finally, before we go, the National Point kickboxing team is leaving no stone unturned in its preparations for the East Coast Classics, which begins on October 8th in South Carolina, United States. Joy Sports' Asari Bediako was at the team's training center and put together this report.
8 Ghanaian fighters will be competing at a point kickboxing tournament which will be staged in South Carolina, United States in October this year. In point kickboxing, fighters win by points and not by knockout, as is the case in main kickboxing. The sport is a combat one based on kicking and punching, historically developed from karate mixed with boxing. The national team is fine-tuning preparation for the East Coast Classics, which gets underway in 2 weeks. Ebenezer Echampon is the team's technical director.
I think so far preparation is going very well, and the guys are determined to get some medals for Ghana as well, and we are pushing hard. You know, when it comes to combat sports like this, you need discipline. So sometimes the guys need someone that they can respect very well. So you still have to push them, screen at them, and keep them moving. They are well determined. Some of them, I would say all of them are determined to move forward because, you know, they know their background, they know where they are coming from, and they know where they are getting to in the future. So they are well determined, and they are pushing hard to get medals for Mother Ghana.
Raman Anantoto, who fights in the 90 kg category, cannot wait for the championship to start.
Like one of the greatest fighters says, you win the fight in the gym, not the ring, okay? So it's the preparations. This one takes more of experience, tactics, the speed, you know, agility, the stamina, more than strength and energy. You know, we are not using power. The power is useless in this type of kickboxing because it's point. So you have to be, you know, very agile, you know, have a good stamina, be very fast, and then have a lot of tactics. You know, that's how you win it. So it's not about power. And in regards to that, we are very prepared. Like, we have a lot of tactics. We know where to hit, where not to hit, how to hit, and how not to hit.
Captain of the national team, Jonathan Iro, is happy mentoring the younger fighters in the team.
Okay, well, you can see we have been in the system for so long a time. And the other fighter that is coming, you know, we have teach them a lot. So what I can say is they should humble themselves so that we can teach them more. Because especially we need more fighters to come into what we are doing so that we can teach more. We need more features, not only this, but we need more fighters to improve yourself. Yeah, well, as a fighter, fighting as a point kickboxing, the fight is all about points. We don't knock opponent. So you, the trainer, or let's say you, the coach, you have to show or teach your fighter more techniques, speed work. You understand? That will make your fighter as a good fighter to win his fight, not to go there to knock your opponent, but especially the experience more. You have to be flexible, speed, a little bit power.
Sugarcane still grows on the Whitney Plain.
We're wrapping up the sports here. My name is Arik Wampofo, and up next is World News.
Tributes continue to pour in for late high-life legend Nana Kwame Ampadu, who died on Tuesday. Filmmaker Socrates Safo, who was at his residence to pay his respects, described him as an institution. He spoke to Joy Entertainment's Mapito Sibidi.
Just tell us about your relationship with the late Nana Ampadu.
Well, I would say that I am a filmmaker, so my relationship mostly started from the political front. Okay. But before then, I was stealing from him. Yes, as a filmmaker, sometimes I pick his songs, and it's mostly on stories. He likes writing about fairy tales and things like that. So I pick some of his stories, I steal them, until one day I decided that let me come to him and seek his permission. I came, I confessed, and he just laughed and said, "Oh, I've been saying it, but I'm just proud that you are making use of my works. And if you are here today, why not? You can do it. Any song you want, that you want to make a film out of it, go ahead. That is why I am on earth, to educate. So if you are going to pick the song and make a movie out of it, then go ahead."
I mean, this man composed like 800 songs or even more.
It's more than 800.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, even more. Yeah. What has the industry lost?
An institution. Yeah. We've lost an institution. For me, if you ask me, we've lost an institution. But there is also the J. Adolfos and the rest who are also there with us now. I would like to see after Nana's burial, something will be done to keep records of what we have left. Nana's demise should give us a wake-up call that we should have a way of institutionalizing our legends in the arts, because it looks like we only enjoy them while they are alive. When they go, then we forget about them.
Artist manager Kwesi Ernest has also been sharing some lessons he learned from high life musician Nana Kwame Ampadu.
I think that I learned few lessons, and some of the lessons that I learned is that one, Nana will tell you, don't be a cheat. He will tell you, don't be greedy. Whatever your level, your size, Nana will see you, he will want to hug you, he will want to tell you stories, he will want to tell you about himself, he will want to tell you about Christ. Yeah. I mean, and he is one thing that everybody remembers him about, that he never forgot his God. Wherever he passes, he tried to make sure that Christ is mentioned. And I remember this one. I even have the footages which I will share with you, that when we went to Paris, that he performed in the Church of Pentecost, Paris Central Church of Pentecost. Nana performed. And you know one thing, when he was about to have the microphone, the officiating pastor was a bit, he was a bit confused, yeah, as Nana Ampadu coming to perform in Church of Pentecost. And so he took the microphone and said, I am one. And then Ojuntofo Nana Ampadu meba menem gospel. And I'm telling you, in the whole church, yeah, the mood and everything, people were like, you know, yeah, this is the person we are talking about. Wherever he was, you will never see Nana frowning his face. You will never see him getting angry. At every time, he will advise you, he will educate you, he will share jokes with you, he will give you stories. I mean, he tells you stories about things. And me particularly, he shared with me, I remember in the flight, I sat with him in one seat, and he told me how he started his music, yeah, from Kwawu, how he all started and everything. So, practically, yeah, this is the person we are celebrating.
Ghana indeed has lost a legend, but his music lives on. That's how we wrap up Joy News today. Thank you so much for your company. Log on to myjoyonline.com for more news. Thanks for your company.